So the notes today are on the introduction to the mass media. What's mass media? Why do you guys insist on just repeating the words?
Media distributed in mass fashion.
It is a little, I guess, but it's media that is distributed widely that lots of people can see. All right, fine. I didn't say mass, did I? Nathan, when I make the sound, you go. There you go. Boop, boop. Okay. The essential question on the bottom of the back will be, which medium do you think is best to get news from? All right. Boop, boop. Oh, So a linkage institution is just another name for those things that help connect people with their government. Those things that help connect people with their government. And a lot of FRQs will ask you, like, what are the linkage institutions and how do they do it? And you just need to know from memory that the linkage institutions are this. Elections. They help link people to their government. Political parties. They help link people to their government. Interest groups and media. So a linkage institution is something that helps link people to their government.
Elections, political parties.
It's up there. It's the last 5 words or whatever. Elections, political parties, interest groups, and the media. Circle it, highlight it, put a big star by it. It's a phrase that you need to be familiar with, and you need to know what groups make up linkage institutions. So let's talk about media. Go ahead. Boop, boop. All right, there is traditional media. Traditional media is made up of newspapers, television, magazines. So newspapers, some popular ones are the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal. What do we know about newspapers? How are they doing? They're not doing so good. When I grew up and I walked down the street, there was newspapers on every curb. You know, everybody had the newspaper. I grew up with the newspaper. Now, how many of you guys, your parents still get the paper on a daily basis? 0, 1,
Just Sunday.
1 or 2. How many of you guys get the paper sometimes? You can't count that one that comes free once a week. Do you get that one? Like, I don't know what it's called. It's like Press Enterprise. It's in a little plastic bag.
Oh.
How many guys get the Sunday paper? Who gets the Sunday paper? So even then, the most popular day, I just have a few people getting the paper. So newspapers are majorly declining. Why do you think that is?
Everything's online.
Everything is online. That's right. Boop, boop. Whoa. Oh. All right. Then there's the traditional media. Boop, boop. The traditional media of television. CBS, NBC, ABC. Again, going back in time, when I grew up, we didn't, if we didn't have cable, which we didn't for a while, there was just like the channels 2 through 13. Does anybody still watch channels 2 through 13 a little bit? For like their shows, like Big Bang Theory or whatever. Okay. Oh, the NFL games. So when I grew up, though, cable wasn't necessarily in every home. Maybe like half of homes had cable. How many of you guys have cable now? More than just the local. I think cable has gone like up, right? And then now it's actually declining a little because people can cut the cord and get Netflix and whatever, Sling Media or something. So anyway, when I say traditional TV, I'm talking about the old school stations, CBS, NBC, ABC. Boop, boop. Boop, boop. Boop, boop. Boop, boop. Oh, okay. Now we have cable news networks like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. These are more watched now than those local channels. And one thing that we noticed, put a little star by international news like the BBC, tends to be the most unbiased because it's just other countries' view of what's going on in America. So it's natural that it's going to be a little less biased. If it's not on there, it's because I wanted to add it. Like it's on a test or something. So go ahead and write off to the side. International equals less biased. Does anybody watch BBC? You watch some of the TV shows on BBC? What do you watch? Doctor Who? Top Gear. Is Top Gear still around? The guy can't. Well, they had issues with the guy, right? And then you guys watch Sherlock Holmes? Or Sherlock? I'm sorry. I saw 2 episodes. It was good. On a plane. That's it. Okay. You remember that. Anything else on BBC? I feel like I've seen. Huh?
The Proms, which is their orchestral pieces.
Okay. Oh, I like a show called Extras. Ricky Gervais. Anybody? No? Okay. And then The Office, the original Office. Okay. BBC is British. Okay, boop boop. Who owns the big TV networks? Well, more and more it's like being consolidated down into companies that own a whole part of it. So NBC owns a big old part. Disney, ABC owns a big old part. CBS owns a big old part. Time Warner owns a big old part. Nathan, I had you click so you wouldn't sleep. I thought giving you a job would get your head off the desk. I've failed myself, and I've failed you. Okay. Boop, boop. News organizations do have their bias. We talked about this before. Picture this as like the left and the right, like liberal and conservative. So we know this stuff already. Where does MSNBC, where does that rank? A little more on the left, or a lot more on the left. Where does Fox News rank? More on the right. Do you guys know these names like Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck? Do you know the names? So those are like really on the right. On the left of MSNBC is The Daily Show, The Colbert Report, The New York Times. So they're more liberal. Where does CNN rank? I said that it's the most middle, but where does it rank still? A little more on the liberal side. So is there anything perfectly in the middle? No. See, I would consider Wall Street Journal a little more on the right. So I guess it's.
BBC text liberal for him.
Where's BBC? Well,
It's passive.
yeah, I mean it's British, so they have socialism and everything, I guess. Boop boop. Then we have news magazines. Boop boop. Beep. Like Time, Newsweek, U.S. News, World Report. Again, they're declining in circulation because the internet. These places are having trouble paying to survive. A lot of newspapers going out of business, a lot of magazines because people just go online. I know I go to the New York Times. I went this morning to read an article, and it says on there, you have read 2 articles. You're allowed 10 for this month. It has a cookie on my phone or my computer, and it knows how many I've read because they're trying to get you to buy a subscription because they're having such money problems. Okay, beep beep. Again, what I'm just trying to say, almost like in the little side area, write down, a lot of news organizations are owned by one company. That's a bad thing, I think. Because that means when it comes down to it, there's only like 5 or 6 different voices. It's all owned by corporations. More and more news organizations are being bought up by one entity. Like Rupert Murdoch, the guy that owns Fox News, he owns a whole bunch of stuff. And he's a very conservative guy, so his views are reflected in the stuff that he owns. Boop, boop. Was that in your notes, that last thing? Beep, beep. Trend towards mergers and consolidation, less competition. Okay. Boop, boop. Beep, beep, boop, 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 beep, 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 beep. Beep. Okay. Then there's this like new media. The new media it's the stuff that we're kind of watching in this class. It's more interactive, it's more entertaining. This might be a bad thing. The more boring something is, probably the more accurate it is. It is personalized, it's emotional, it's informal, it's opinionated, it's topical, like The Daily Show, like John Oliver, like Bill Maher, like Glenn Beck, like Rush Limbaugh. There are shows where the person is, has a personality and they're talking about the issues and they're giving their spin, their take on the issues. So there is this big question about does media shape our opinions, do you guys think? Or do we just pick media that we already agree with? It's almost like that would be a better essential question than the one that we have. Think about it again. Does media shape the way you think? Or do you just pick media that you already agree with? You know what I mean? Think about it. All right. I don't have an answer for you. It does. We'll talk about arguments both ways. Okay. Boop boop. So beep beep. So does the media influence public opinion? Well, let's look at the different arguments for yes and no. Boop boop. Yes. Boop boop boop. Can you just scroll to the bottom? So Television personalizes candidates and the election. Television allows you to have, you feel like you know the candidates, you relate to them. But the media stresses short-term elements of the election at the expense of long-term elements, like such and such tripped on the way up the podium, or Donald Trump said this or that. But they don't talk about, I feel like they don't talk about the big ideas of the election, like someone's economic policy or something. It's more of like a horse race, like such and such is in the lead, and here's what he said yesterday, and we don't really look at their policies too much. People who watch a lot of media, people who watch The Daily Show and Jon Stewart, or same thing, the Colbert Report, they tend to influence a lot of their friends. And the media can help set a national agenda. I don't know if this is anywhere in your notes, but so in that open space, can you write down agenda setting? One of the main things that media does is agenda setting, which is that some stuff is only talked about because the media brings it up, and some stuff is ignored because the media never brings it up. So the media has the power of agenda setting. What they talk about is the stuff we talk about. What they ignore really never gets talked about. All right? Boop. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, right there. We've seen a rise of advocacy journalism rather than objective journalism. Basically, there's a rise in Bill O'Reilly, Jon Stewart, Colbert Report, and there's not so much a rise of like that very unbiased kind of journalism. Studies show that our news media people are more liberal than the rest of the public as a whole. So a writer for the New York Times living in New York is more of a Democrat than the average American. And so we talked before about liberal bias in the media. Maybe it's because most of the people writing articles tend to be more liberal. Media is the primary linking institution between public and government. The last bullet is a big one. Media, what's CNN or MSNBC's, what's their main goal in life? Is it to inform the public? No. What is it then? Make money. So if there's something scandalous, something like stupid, but it'll get a lot of reporting, it's going to be on TV. CNN gets made fun of a lot because they'll be like showing an Obama speech, and then they cut away. Justin Bieber has been arrested on suspicion of DUI or something. It's like, okay. But you interrupted the president's speech to talk about Justin Bieber, and it's like money. When it comes down to it, people want to hear more about Bieber than they do about Obama, so that CNN's more interested in. Boop, boop. Beep, 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 beep. All right, what's the argument for no? Well, most Americans don't pay much attention to the news anyway. How many of you guys don't really watch the news? Okay. And you're in AP government, so picture the average, 30-year-old not watching the news very much. I don't watch the news very much. I read about it. Surveys show that people don't know a lot about current affairs. Ask them why we went to Iraq, and they sound like Sarah Palin. And they often forget what they read or they see. Selective attention. Many people focus on media they already agree with. Selective perception. A liberal and a conservative can watch the same news and walk away saying stuff that agrees with their opinion, Like, you can watch the same debate between Hillary and Trump, and the Hillary people think she won, and the Trump people think he won. Media is only one source of influence. We know the family, school, peers, and other things influence. People consume media for a variety of reasons: boredom, entertainment. They're less likely to pay close attention. All right. Boop, boop. All right. Newspapers tend to have a perception of liberal bias, but yet they typically endorse Republican candidates. The people that own newspapers tend to be Republican. Do you know that newspapers, they endorse people? So as we get closer to the election, they actually have, like, the newspaper will write an article saying, if we could pick, we would pick Donald Trump. If we could pick, we would pick Obama. And there are hundreds of newspapers across the country, so it's kind of interesting that they do this. That's one way we can tell what their bias is. Conservatives claim that reporters are too liberal, that they're college graduates with hostility towards the middle class, but liberals claim that publishers, newspaper owners, are too conservative and too concerned with selling newspapers. There's a lack of competition in newspapers. Most major cities just have one. We see bold down there. This is that horse race journalism. The largest amount of presidential campaign coverage is devoted to like how such and such is doing. Carson's up 5 points. Carson's down. Trump's up. Trump's down. And it's not about like, here's Carson's thoughts on tax reform or something, because that's boring. It's more interesting to be like, he's in the lead, he's losing, he's winning. Oh, what happened? Oh, he said this. That's so stupid. Tune in tonight. It's not so fun to be like, tonight we'll take an in-depth examination of Donald Trump's plan for tax reform. You know, it's like, that's no one's going to watch that. So the media tends to focus on less important things, but it's going to get more clicks, more views. Okay? The impact of television. Well, now most people get their news from television. And there's been a decline in substance of what's being covered. We know that. And a rise in image and slogans. Country first, right? Change. Hope. The president can now use television as a kind of electronic throne. That's a phrase that's used a lot in this class. The president sometimes uses TV as an electronic throne because he can just talk and be uninterrupted and have a speech, and the American people will listen. He can bypass journalists' annoying questions and go straight to the people with a speech. The White House and everybody in Congress and stuff, they manipulate photos, they manipulate TV so that they appear their best. And they try to say smart sound bites, right? You see the Sarah Palin movie we watched the other day? A lot of the stuff she said was a sound bite. It basically like quick stuff that could appear on the news that night that people could listen to in like 5 seconds and say, oh, that was a smart little quote. I like Sarah Palin. People aren't interested in the Ben Carson like 1 minute long, like well thought out response to something. They want that quick 10-second, 5-second, like, oh, okay, yeah, you know. That's a sound bite. Okay, boop. One more, yeah. So, but there is a concern that television has fostered cynicism and distrust towards government. I would say that is true for me. Same with your newspapers. The cable channels are all owned by the same kind of corporations, and so the unique voices being heard, there's not much uniqueness. For instance, Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, they just bought National Geographic. You know, so they're always buying up new stuff. National Geographic just got bought. All of this stuff weakens parties a little bit and it makes candidates more important because they can speak directly with the people. And I already said that there's a decline in like ABC, NBC News and an increase in like Fox News, CNN, cable channels.